We got an interesting matchup here in Week 13. Some may say this is the return of the Cleveland Browns-Pittsburgh Steelers rivalry. But when it comes to football, we all know that rivalries aren't back until you beat the other team at their place. That is when a rivalry is back. That is when it feels just a little bit different, because the Browns have beaten the Steelers by bigger margins at home. It's not the biggest deal in the world that we beat the Steelers on Thursday Night Football. It's not the first time the Browns have done that. I wasn't running in the streets crazy after the Browns beat the Steelers like after the Browns beat the Ravens in Baltimore, because beating a division team in their house, that just is something different. And that is the opportunity that the Cleveland Browns have, and that's obviously what the Pittsburgh Steelers want to avoid. They don't want to get swept by the Browns, and they don't want to get beat in Pittsburgh by the Browns. And it's going to be an interesting battle. There's a lot of layers on top of this. Cam Hayward's angry. Larry Ogunjobi is angry. Mason Rudolph is on the bench, and that's probably better for everybody. Maybe James Conner may return. Juju Smith-Schuster may make a heroic return. All of these things, all of these storylines will be condensed into one video that you have to watch. The one video, if you're a Browns fan, if you're a Steelers fan, if you're a fan who's just going to watch this game on Sunday, the one video you have to watch to get prepared for this Sunday. So sit down, buckle in, or strap, whatever you're doing right now, just chill out and watch this video for the next 15 to 20 minutes as I tell you everything you need to know about the Browns versus the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 13. Hit the music. All right, we're going to start this thing like we always do and talk about some of the key matchups / storylines. And the first matchup is going to be Devlin Duck Hodges versus the Browns. The first thing to look at is that Duck is replacing Mason Rudolph. Now, why is that happening?
Did you see him last game?
Duck, in his 3 games played, has had a 67% completion rate, 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, and a 59 QBR. That's not terrible. But Mason Rudolph this season has had a 62% completion rate, a 12-to-9 touchdown interception ratio, which has been much worse the last 2 weeks. I'm in a 33 QBR. Now, here's how QBR works. It's out of 100. A 70 is a great QBR. A 60 to 50 is a decent QBR. You know, it's Andy Dalton territory. And anything below 40 is god-awful. And that is not good for Mason Rudolph to be in 33 of QBR. So, yes, it makes a ton of sense for the Steelers to start Duck. But here's the scouting report on Duck. He's going to stay composed. He's not going to panic. He's very good in the pocket, unlike Mason Rudolph, who tends to panic sometimes and make some panic throws. But the problem with Duck is that he's going to throw a ton of screens and checkdowns. And he will throw you an interception when he tries to push the ball down the field. And he's going to struggle in the red zone. And for a Steelers offense that is already the 31st ranked red zone scoring offense, which is only ahead of Washington, the reality with Hodges is that his game is only going to be as good as the people around him. And if he does not have James Conner and Juju Smith-Schuster healthy, he's not going to be in a great position to win this game. Now, the second thing that Hodges is going to have to deal with is Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward, who have both been playing really well the last 2 weeks. They have really drove down the completion percentage of quarterbacks when they have been out there. They haven't gotten interceptions. I don't think either of them have an interception, but they've been playing really well. And this secondary has been playing a lot better since they gave up all of those yards to Brandon Allen. Now the second story is, will a healthy Juju and James Conner make a huge difference? Now, the initial answer is sure. I think a healthy Juju and James are probably worth 14 points if they're playing at their best ability. James Conner especially, because he's going to be huge to what Hodges does, which is check down a lot. But you also have to look at the fact that Juju and James Conner have been huge disappointments this season. If you look at the total stats for James Conner, they're not good. They're ugly. 390 yards, 48 rushing yards per game, 30 receiving yards a game. So he's under 100 all-purpose yards. He's only had 4 touchdowns, and he's averaging 3.8 yards per carry. So James Conner not been having the breakout year a lot of people expected him to have. Juju Smith-Schuster, 10 games, 524 yards. Bad, because that's an average of 52.4 yards a game, and he's only had 3 touchdowns. A lot of talk has been going into how bad Odell Beckham has been this season, but if you compare the numbers of Odell Beckham to Juju Smith-Schuster, there is a stark difference in what class of wide receiver that they are, and that's only a conversation because many were eager to put Juju Smith-Schuster in the class of an Odell Beckham when he just doesn't seem to be ready for that, especially without another option, a clear option on the other side of the ball. So it'll be interesting to see if those two players play, how they will impact the game, because so far they have not had great impacts on the game. The third question is that will the Browns offense click versus a top 10 defense? Baker and Jarvis have really seemed to be clicking on a high level since they beat the Buffalo Bills. Jarvis has been Baker's favorite target, and whenever Baker scrambles, he always seems to be able to find Jarvis Landry a lot like he used to be able to find Rashard Higgins, which tells you that that chemistry is there. They're starting to see things the same way. And that is why the Browns offense has jumped from the 26th to the 19th ranked red zone offense, because Jarvis Landry has had a touchdown catch in every game since they've played Denver. And now Odell Beckham, and also on the other side, Odell Beckham will demand double coverage, which will put the Pittsburgh Steelers in an odd spot with Minkah Fitzpatrick. Last time, they tried to stick true to what they do, and they got diced up a little bit through the air, and they got ran on, and it wasn't as bad as it could have been, and I think the Steelers know that. So this week, I do anticipate there is going to be an adjustment, and I think they're still going to double cover OBJ, but I think they're going to do it with Joe Hayden and Steven Nelson, and I think they're going to use Minkah Fitzpatrick more as a corner on Jarvis Landry, that to put a good corner on Jarvis Landry, but also to free up a DB to handle Kareem Hunt out the backfield, and let Devin Bush cover David Njoku. I think those are the adjustments that they're probably going to make to the Browns offense. That is what would make some sense. So this week will probably be a nice week to run the ball with Nick Chubb and get both tight ends involved. And that is going to be interesting to see how that plays out this week. The Browns offense finally looked like they got their thing together against the Dolphins, but that's against the Dolphins. The Steelers will be a real test as far as defenses go. And if they can put points on the board against Pittsburgh on the road, that means that this offense is ready to go. Now, the next question is, can the Garrett-less Browns defensive line create pressure versus a Pouncey-less Steelers offensive line? So it's shorthanded defensive line versus shorthanded offensive line. See, stopping the run is going to be a tough task for the Browns without Myles Garrett. And they already weren't a great run-stopping team with Myles Garrett out there. They ranked 22 in DVOA rush defense. And creating a pass rush will also be a problem, because if they don't have Olivier Vernon, they won't have a lot of pass rushers. And creating pressure is going to be important, especially if Juju plays, because he's good enough to get open if you can't get to Hodges. Also, Hodges is mobile. He can move a little bit, and he can kill you for a good run on 3rd and 6. And another thing to look at is that Sheldon Richardson just had his best game this season last week against the Dolphins. And with no Pouncey inside, it could create opportunities for Sheldon Richardson. As if you look at these numbers, how the Browns defensive line did against a bad team without their players versus how the Steelers offensive line did against a bad team without Marquise Pouncey. And you'll see that the Browns actually fared a little bit better. They actually played a little bit better without Miles, without Larry Ogunjobi, without Olivier Vernon than the Steelers did without Pouncey. So that will be interesting to see if the Browns can make them pay for not having Pouncey out there and create pressure through the middle, which is going to be interesting to see if Larry Ogunjobi can do that coming off his suspension. Now we're going to look at the key inactives, and right now it looks like Olivier Vernon is going to be probable. Eric Murray is going to be probable. And it looks like Juju Smith-Schuster, James Conner, and Artie Burns are all day-to-day for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So interesting question is who is going to play there. Olivier Vernon, if he doesn't play, is going to be a huge missing link on that pass rush for the Browns. And Juju Smith-Schuster and James Conner are going to be huge missing pieces for this offense if they can't have them available. All right, so let's look at the biggest weakness / problem for the Browns and the Steelers. And the Steelers are going to be offense. The Steelers rank terrible in red zone offense. They have not been able to put points on the board. A Cincinnati Bengals team which gave up 1 million points to the Baltimore Ravens on an efficient cut gave up only, 16 points to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the one touchdown they had, if you watch the tape, let's be honest, it looked like the Bengals DBs just decided to stop playing football halfway through that play. So, you get credit for the touchdown, but take it in context. So that's going to be a huge question. This Steelers offense has not gotten anything together. And it's not like the Browns' weakness, the Browns' defensive line, where they actually did play well against the Dolphins. It's just they played well against the Dolphins, so you don't know how they're going to play against better offensive lines. They're going to have more defensive linemen available with having Larry Ogunjobi back and hopefully having Olivier Vernon, but you don't know how this defensive line is going to respond to not having Myles Garrett out there until you play a good offensive line without Myles Garrett. And that is going to be the test for this Cleveland Browns defensive line. All right, now let's look at the win criteria. And for the Steelers, it's going to be they need a healthy Juju and James Conner. I don't see how they get their offense going without them. They're going to be a huge part in what the Steelers can do if they want to win this game. They also have to stay turnover free. Mason Rudolph has killed them with those. Hopefully for them, Duck Hodges can keep them away from the turnovers. Then they also need to find efficiency in the red zone. They're one of the worst in the NFL, so finding some efficiency there will be important. And keeping the quarterback clean without Pouncey, they need to be able to keep the quarterback free of pressure. The last time these two teams played, they had Pouncey, the Browns had Myles Garrett, and the Browns were able to get pressure on the quarterback, and that was a major factor in why Mason Rudolph looked so bad. So look for that to be another key sticking point that the Steelers are going to have to stay on to keep their quarterback clean in order to not lose this game. Now, for the Browns, it's going to be simple. Get Chubb and Hunt involved early. Play action passes. All these things are going to work to negate the pass rush that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. They're also going to want to capitalize on turnovers and opportunities. I do think they're going to be able to get a couple turnovers this game, and I think they need to score on those opportunities. Last time these two teams played, they punted away a lot of turnover balls that they got, and they didn't capitalize and didn't get any points. They can't let that happen this week in Pittsburgh. They also need to keep TJ Watt out of this game, and again, play action passes can be a huge part on how they do this. The run game can be a huge part in how they do this, and just getting the ball out of Baker's hands is going to be a huge part in how they do this, and they're going to have to create a pass rush. I like what they did last week. I really want to see if it actually works against a competent NFL team. You can't really take too much away from what you did against the Miami Dolphins, so this week will be a real test to see if they can create a pass rush without Myles Garrett. Now, what's my win-loss prediction for this game? I think the Browns are actually going to win this. I think the Browns are going to keep their momentum going. I think they're going to be able to score a good amount of points, but not a dominating amount of points. And I think the Steelers are going to play really good defense. And I think Duck is going to be able to get them a few points. So I think this is going to be a 27-17 game. I think the Browns are going to win in Heinz Field for the first time in over a decade, almost 2 decades. And it's going to be a signature win for the Browns this season as they march forward and try to make a playoff push. But let me know your thoughts and predictions down in the comment section down below. That is what I think. Let me know what you think. But thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ding that notification bell so you can be notified when I upload. And have a great day and have a good night.